For years, Jana had been the steady heart of the family, the organizer, the caretaker, the calm presence behind the scenes. And now, in this imagined chapter of her life, she had stepped into a new role, mother. Downstairs, the celebration was already in full swing. Jim Bob Duggar stood at the center of the living room, beaming like a man who had just won the lottery twice. Balloons bobbed against the ceiling, blue and white streamers draped the staircase, and a large banner read, "Welcome, baby boy." Jim Bob clapped his hands together with enthusiasm that could power the entire house. "Now listen up, everybody," he called out, his voice booming over the chatter of siblings, cousins, and relatives. "This is a big day, a blessing-filled, praiseworthy, celebration kind of day." Michelle floated in beside him, eyes shining, her familiar, gentle smile brighter than ever. A new life is such a gift, and this little one already has so many people who love him. The younger kids darted around the room, arguing playfully over who would get to hold the baby first. Someone accidentally released a balloon, and it drifted toward the ceiling as laughter followed it upward. Jana's sisters bustled in and out of the kitchen, carrying trays of food, casseroles, pies, and far too many cupcakes for any reasonable gathering. But reason had no place here today. When Jana finally descended the stairs, the room fell quiet for just a heartbeat. "There she is," Jim Bob said, his voice suddenly thick with emotion. Jana paused, looking around at the faces turned toward her, faces filled with pride, excitement, and unmistakable love. She adjusted the baby in her arms, feeling his warm weight against her chest. "This," Jim Bob announced, stepping forward, "is what family is all about." Applause broke out, mixed with cheers and a few happy tears. Jana laughed softly, shaking her head. "You're making him famous already," she teased. Jim Bob leaned closer, peering at his grandson. "Well, look at him. Strong lungs, bright eyes. He's got Duggar spirit written all over him." The baby let out a small yawn, completely unimpressed by the attention. As the day unfolded, stories filled the air. Jim Bob recounted Jana's childhood, how she'd always been responsible, how she'd mothered her siblings long before she ever imagined holding her own child. Michelle added gentle memories, speaking of prayers whispered late at night and dreams placed carefully in God's hands. Outside, long tables were set up beneath the trees. The smell of barbecue drifted through the air as relatives gathered, greeting one another with hugs and laughter. Music played softly in the background, old hymns mixed with cheerful country tunes. Jana stepped out onto the porch for a moment of quiet. The baby slept peacefully now, his chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. She looked down at him, feeling the weight of responsibility and wonder settle into her bones. "Welcome to the world," she whispered. "You are so loved." Behind her, Jim Bob watched silently. For all his enthusiasm and booming speeches, this moment stilled him. He saw not just a new baby, but a continuation, a future unfolding in the arms of his daughter. He cleared his throat and joined her on the porch. "You've done good, Jana," he said gently. She smiled, eyes still on her son. "I'm just getting started." As evening approached, the celebration shifted into something softer. Candles were lit. The kids grew sleepy. Conversations slowed, turning thoughtful and warm. Jim Bob gathered everyone one last time, raising a glass of sparkling cider. "To new beginnings," he said, "to family, and to this little boy, may his life be filled with faith, love, and purpose." "Amen," the room echoed. Jana felt tears sting her eyes as she held her son closer. In this imagined moment, surrounded by noise and love and legacy, she understood something deeply. Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect, but sometimes it unfolds even more beautifully. And as the Duggar house settled into the quiet of night, one tiny baby boy slept soundly, unaware that his arrival had sparked joy, celebration, and a story that would be told for years to come.
Night wrapped the Duggar home in a peaceful hush, but sleep was slow to come. The house, though quieter now, still carried the echo of laughter and celebration. Jana sat in the softly lit nursery, rocking gently back and forth, her baby boy nestled safely against her shoulder. The room smelled faintly of lavender and baby powder, and the moonlight filtered through the curtains like a blessing whispered from heaven. She traced his tiny nose with her finger. Every breath he took felt miraculous. Earlier that evening, after most guests had left, Jim Bob had insisted on one final gathering. Just family, he said, which still meant nearly a full room. He stood tall, hands folded, eyes glistening with pride. "I've seen a lot of blessings in my life," Jim Bob said, his voice quieter now, more reflective. "But watching my daughter step into motherhood, well, that's something special." Jana had felt her cheeks warm as her siblings nodded in agreement. Jessa squeezed her hand, Joy wiped a tear. Even the younger kids seemed to sense that this moment mattered. Back in the nursery, Jana smiled at the memory. The baby stirred, letting out a tiny sound, half sigh, half protest. Jana laughed softly. I know, she whispered. "Big day for you." Down the hall, Jim Bob lingered near the doorway, reluctant to intrude but unable to stay away. Michelle joined him, resting her head against his shoulder. "She's grown into such a strong woman," Michelle said. Jim Bob nodded. "She always was. She just didn't realize it yet." They watched quietly as Jana laid her son in the crib. He stretched, fingers opening and closing, as if reaching for the world. For a moment, time felt suspended. 3 generations bound together by love and hope. The next morning brought fresh excitement. Word of the baby's arrival had spread fast. Messages poured in. Flowers arrived at the doorstep. Even neighbors stopped by with gifts and warm smiles. The Duggar home once again filled with energy, but this time it felt gentler, reverent. Jim Bob took charge of the day like a proud master of ceremonies. "We're doing this right," he declared. "This little guy's first week deserves to be remembered." A small outdoor gathering was planned, nothing too big, just close friends and family. Blue ribbons decorated the fence. A hand-painted sign near the driveway read, "A new chapter begins." Jana stepped outside later that afternoon, sunlight dancing through the trees. She held her son carefully as Michelle introduced him to visitors, each greeting wrapped in kindness and awe. "Oh, he's perfect," someone whispered. Jim Bob couldn't resist. "That's what happens when you're born into a family full of love," he said proudly. At one point, Jana sat beneath the old oak tree where so many family photos had been taken over the years. The breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and her baby slept peacefully, unaware of the legacy surrounding him. She thought about the future. First steps, first words, scraped knees, big dreams. Would he be adventurous, quiet, thoughtful? She didn't know, and that mystery filled her with wonder rather than fear. Jim Bob approached, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. He handed one to Jana and sat beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "More than okay. I feel full, like my heart grew overnight." Jim Bob chuckled. "That's what kids do. They stretch your heart in ways you didn't think were possible." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the family move around them, laughing, talking, living. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the yard, Jim Bob stood once more, lifting his glass. "One last thing," he announced. "I just want to say this. Our family is built on faith, love, and togetherness, and today that foundation got even stronger." Cheers followed, warm and sincere. Jana looked down at her son and felt something settle deep inside her. Gratitude. This wasn't just a celebration of a baby. It was a celebration of growth, of new beginnings, of love continuing generation after generation. That night, as stars filled the sky and the house finally rested, Jana whispered a prayer over her sleeping son, for guidance, for protection, for joy. And somewhere down the hall, Jim Bob turned off the last light, smiling to himself. Another chapter had begun, and it was beautiful.